Alright, when creating your basic facial shapes, you have to realize that you start off with your basic almond or your head shape like so. And you always want to pay attention to the center line and pick your eye line like so. So you start off with a basic shape like this. And then what you have to realize is that it's actually carved out. The first part is, and depending on if male or female, the angles are going to be harder or softer, as mentioned before. But you're going to start off by cutting out, slicing part of this out, like so. And this turns into kind of the cheek start right here, and you get the cheek ridge going on. But it's also the brow ridge right here, and the upper cheeks here. So doing that, you need to understand that there's three parts to drawing the face, which is the eye, the nose, and the mouth. Okay, for the eye, you have to realize that, and I'm gonna just undo that and create a new layer. Give me a second. Okay, so when you do this, you have to realize that when you're creating an eye is um, an eye is actually, if you look at the socket of a skull, and I'm just going to go here, the eye is it fits in this kind of almost block-like shape here, and then the eye, which is completely round, fits directly in that, and then from there you have your iris and your pupil. Okay, now from there your eye is actually surrounded like so, and then it fits in. This is actually the brow ridge here, um, and what happens is you have the skin, and I'll show you from the side view. So from the side view, you have your eye like this, and then your iris and pupil actually stand out like so. All right, so the key points that you always have to pay attention to is from the top of the eye, from the eyelid here. The eyelid stands out from the eye and comes up in, and then the skull would actually come in like this. So the eyelid comes here and then out like so. So it's the same kind of effect here, and then down here you have to realize that the eye comes somewhat down as well. Now, for the most part, this generally is like this, okay? All right, and it goes around that eye, and most people have the biggest issue with going around the eye. So what you have to realize is you'll have your tear duct in here, and that's your base shape of your eye. Now from the front and the side view, it looks, you can easily pick out the shape, and the shapes vary from, an almond style shape, or kind of a spearhead style shape, to more of an almond style shape, to so on and so forth, and everything changes. Now what you have to realize is that when we generally look at a person's eye, this is actually flat, and then you don't see this because you have the eyelashes coming over this, so you never really see this type of skin flap here from the under eye. But from the lower portion of the eyelid, you actually do see that. So you actually have to draw that in there, and that's part of the aspect of building the eye, is realizing that it's actually um, above your skin. So, and most people have a lot of issues drawing that three-quarter view. And the three-quarter view is actually pretty simple. You draw your circle, and as you can see, I'm just drawing my base like so. And what you have to realize is that that line wraps around this eye. So when it comes over here, it's actually going to pop out a little bit. So you're going to get this kind of almost flap in there. And then you're basically building another version of that. But this time you're going to see the bottom of the eye. And like so. And that is your three-quarter view. So somewhat like this and like that. And then again, the flap comes down. So it's really about drawing shapes on top of shapes. So we're just adding thickness to the eye, and then from there you're actually building outward to get the eye ridge, something like this. And then it comes down, and then the nose comes in off of that. Okay, so when we're looking at this, I'm just going to hide this one. Actually, I'll just go back onto my other layer here. So when you're working on this, what you have to realize is that from your nose ridge, you want to draw in your kind of your skull shape, and you have to realize that that skull shape changes on this side. So don't try to, draw two identical shapes, because what's happening is as this goes back, it actually goes back in space. So from there, and then you're going to draw your eye like so. And if you need to draw the features underneath it, by all means, draw those features underneath it. And then like so. And then it's just a matter of drawing down. Now, one thing I'm going to show you guys real quick is that the eye never, when it's open, it will never hide the pupil. So you can actually bring the eyelid lower. And I'll just erase this portion here. You can actually bring the eyelid lower, and it will never hide that feature. So I'm just going to come down and draw a similar line over here like this, and then as it wraps around, it disappears. So I'm going to draw this next one in here with the tear duct, and the tear duct is going to be hidden by the nose, but I'm still drawing it because it's going to help you plan out. That's why you should always draw through. And then so there is your basic eye. Okay. All right, and then from there, I'm going to hide this layer and really quickly erase this so I have a clean slate. So from there, the next thing that we're going to work on is the nose. And the nose gives people the biggest issue. A lot of people tend to do this for the nose. And this is a horrible nose because, one, this is no nose. Never draw the sides of a nose. And two, you're trying to draw what you don't see. Drawing like this is bad. Bad. Okay, so the nose is actually really simple when you think of it in geometric shapes. The first part is you want to draw some sort of a trapezoid. And it's all dependent on how wide the nose is, and it's going to be smaller at top, wider at the bottom. And then from there, the top of the trapezoid, you can draw either a block shape or a circular shape. Circle is generally easier for most people, so you draw your circular shapes in there. And then from there, you can add in your nostrils. Okay, and then from here, you're going to draw the side where you see the skin overlap, and this is going to come down, and then this is all about shading right here. So if you're drawing light from this side, you're shading this on this direction right here. Okay, and you might get some overlap here, and then you're also getting shading on the bottom here, and that's really what drawing the nose is about. Okay, so from a 3/4 view, you're drawing very similar to the same thing. You're drawing outward with the trapezoid, and like so. And then what you're doing is you're adding on either the balls of the nose and draw through again, because drawing through allows you to see where you're going with everything. And then something like that comes up, and then this, you can actually change the shape of it. Now, say the nose has a break in there, so if you want to break in there, you have to realize that what happens is you have the skull like this, and then this rest of this nose is cartilage. So you generally get those crooked noses or bent noses, and it's all about developing that shape. And that is really what the side view is about. Okay, so again, drawing the nose, and the nose starts, and it also is a secondary trapezoid like this, so it's kind of this weird thing. So from here, it's going to go in, and as you can see, this is my forehead, and it's going to come out, and you can arc this, you can arc it outward. Noses come in different shapes from, like this to the daintier nose to so on and so forth. So from there, it's going to have this trapezoid. And if you can't see the bottom, you can't see the bottom. It's okay. But as long as you draw that in perspective with everything else, you're should be pretty fine. And then you draw the sphere and the sphere. And basically, it's a matter of going in there like so. And then what you're going to do is you're going to block that out like so, and that's pretty much your basis for the head right there. Now again, you can actually move this, you can angle it. It's really a basic of what you're doing here. So the next thing is, and I actually drew this on the wrong layer, so I'm just going to cut real quick and merge that layer. So I'm going to hide this and go on to a new layer here. And okay, so just double check that it's visible. Okay, so the next part is the mouth. And the mouth is actually really simple. So when you draw a mouth from the straight on, it's actually a straight line, a V, or a something like that. And then from there, you have the easiest way to do this is draw two shapes, and so almost like, I don't know, Kermit the Frog's head, like so. So I think that's Kermit the Frog. Anyway, so you're going to follow this point up, down like this. And even though this seems very simplistic from the front view, it works fine. From the side view, you have to realize that the front of the mouth has an angle to it. So the upper part of the lip comes down and usually sticks out before the upper part of the before the lower lip here. So from a 3/4 view, it gets kind of funky, because the first thing that you have to realize is that you're building it on the jawline. So the jawline is actually something like this. It's actually like a horseshoe shape. And so we're going to draw the teeth in here like that. And then you have to realize that as we draw, this shape curves around the mouth. So you want to draw in your two fat pustules, if you would. And then from there, it's up and down. So same thing here. And then down to this. And then here, we're drawing somewhat similar like this. And then here, and it goes up to that. And that's pretty much it. I mean, you can get more complex shapes going on. There is, like if you want those pouty lips, you generally draw 2 and 2, and then it's kind of got this arc or curve like so. All right, and then there is usually like some people have a little bit of fat that goes from here to here, so that actually sticks out a little bit more, and you can actually sometimes see that when you draw that in. So it's just a matter of getting in there and drawing in that corner. But again, you always want to work from reference. So from what I'm looking at here, I would probably draw my mouth somewhat like this, and then start off with my V here, and draw my base shapes in there, and then my second shapes in there, and it would look something like that. And then actually this is a little bit off because this nose should be back forward, so I should actually go in here and probably move the mouth forward a little bit more, something like that. And then so that's a little bit more reasonable. And then from there you're adding in a little bit more chin and such. So it's I kind of went a little bit fast, but this is a real fast video, so I'm just giving you kind of the rough idea. And then again, draw through to make sure that you get what you're looking for. You know, I can actually go in and erase, and so on and so forth. But it's really a matter of going in and making sure that those shapes that you're looking for are in that particular proportion, and then you can add on and so on and so forth. But that's a rough idea of how to get the basic proportions of a face down on paper. So I hope that helps.